Hello and welcome to this episode of Cosmic Crow Tarot, where today we're going to be looking at the 8, 9, and 10 of Swords, the Minor Arcana cards connected to the first, second, and third decans of Gemini. Now, I personally have had really bad experiences with the sign of Gemini, more the masculine energy than the feminine energy, but there are people out there, like when they have control of their minds, when they truly trust themselves, they can be rather narcissistic. You know, this is them, this is the rest of the world, and we are here to serve them. Now, there's a few examples there, and I'm not saying this is everybody, so don't come after me. Gemini and Sagittarius, I'm the Sagittarius, so I do, we're opposites, so maybe that's why I have these things, and it's just experiences I've had. Like, an old boss I had and everything was the most narcissistic person you'd ever meet, and he was that first deacon. So I think his birthday was like May 28th or something like that. But, these three cards connected to the mutable air sign of Gemini, they're not narcissistic at all. They're quite the opposite. All three of these cards suggest, that mind working against us. And when the mind is not working against us, sign of the twins, when the heart and the mind are focused, when you truly trust yourself and that inner voice isn't filling you with doubt and anxiety, then, you don't feel like a prisoner to your own life. You're not lying awake worrying about the future might hold, and you're not letting all those experiences of the past make you want to give up. That's the energy of these three cards. But, not everybody can have that confidence. Not everybody has it. And that energy there with the Eight of Swords, this card was my stalker card for the first probably 2 years of me doing tarot. With the way that I do it, the way that I learn, I tried to memorize the book. I had this awesome book that was it was the only guide to tarot you'll ever need, or something like that. I don't remember, this was years and years ago. But I read that book, tried, picked a card from it every day, and it didn't really, it wasn't sticking. So the second thing I tried that a good friend told me to try was I went onto Facebook and I trade readings with complete strangers. They draw cards for me, I draw cards for them, back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. This card came up every single time anybody would draw cards for me. This is the card of feeling like a prisoner to your own mind, the mind being that warden that says you can't move forward. But this illustration, it shows us that we can move forward. For starters, there's nothing forward in front of her. There's nothing stopping her. All those swords are behind her. That sword right there on the left, more close, more front and center, more close to us. If she can get that cloth off, if she can get that stuff off, she can grab that sword, find her truth, and find the success that she deserves. 8, that is strength or justice, depending on the deck we're working with. So finding that strength to be fair to ourselves, forgiving the past and the ones that might have hurt us, can help free us from that prison of our minds. From this illustration, you see there's nobody anywhere close by. That castle that looks far, far away, there's no guard or anything around her, and that stuff around her, very loose. She could wiggle a little bit, shake it off, get her arms free, and remove that blindfold and grab that sword and move forward. So, all three of these cards, they're probably the most negative of the Minor Arcana that there is. The whole suit of swords is rather negative, with the exception of probably the Ace of Swords, Two of Swords, and the Six of Swords. But, it's the mind. And when the mind works overtime against us, that's when these situations happen. Now, the energy of this Eight of Swords, like I said, the first decan of Gemini. So that's round about May 20th, 21st to the end of May 31st. Now, the Nine of Swords, the card of lying awake at night, worrying about the future, having those inner demons fill us with nightmares when we're trying to get a good night's rest. This is the second decan. It's June 1st to June 10th roundabout. And just like that Eight of Swords, the suits of the mind is what's working overtime in this Nine of Swords as well. You can see the character there with his hands, his or her hands over their hands, because they're supposed to be asleep. But all these experiences of the past, that's keeping them awake, making them worry. 9, that follows 8, is the number of the Hermit of the Major Arcana. It's also, in my opinion, the most powerful number in numerology, because take any single number, 1 to infinity, and add all of those numbers up, to get a single digit, you're going to get something 9 or less. So 9 contains all of that energy that has come before it. So all of those swords there, all of those experiences, all those times that made us feel like a prisoner, can leave us feeling like we can't move forward, lead us from not getting that good night's sleep that can help us succeed. So if we learn from those experiences, we clear our minds, we can start focusing on where we want to be. So second decan right here with the 9 of Swords, and then we have the 10 of Swords. The 10 of Swords, you know, you can tell from this illustration, give up, throw in the towel, lay down and die. That's the kind of energy that comes with the 10 of Swords. And the Rider-Waite-Smith illustration that we have here, by the way, this is the Weiser Tarot, my personal favorite depiction of the Rider-Waite-Smith, because I love the watercolor energy here and the colors in the background and everything. These cards are so awesome. That's my favorite one to work with when I do festivals and stuff. This deck is always on the table, unless it's like a holiday like Halloween or Christmas. Yes, I have a Halloween Rider-Waite and a Christmas Rider-Waite that it goes with me as well. But the 10 of Swords here with this illustration, you know, you have that red. The red continues in every single illustration, but you know, it's not helping us any. If she removes those blindfolds and those ribbons and everything and moves forward, then her feet can take her to find that passion that makes her want to live. This guy, if he's covering his head and he's not getting a good night's rest, he's got that red, it's mixed with orange. He can find that joy when his mind isn't keeping him awake at night. You even have that yellow right there. You have the yellow there and you have the yellow there. To me, that's sunshine. It's joy. It's creativity. And it reminds us when we free ourselves from that prison of our minds, when we get that good night's rest and we see the way forward and stop holding on to the past, we can begin creating something better. So this third decan of Gemini, June 11th to June 20th roundabout, yeah, you see the water there, the ocean of emotion, and those emotions pulling you under. But then you see in the background right here, that purple, that sky, the black and everything in the background that shows that darkness, that negativity, those shadows pulling us under. But beyond that, there's the horizon. There's new opportunities. So when we wade through that ocean of emotion, when we focus on what we want that next chapter to be, learning from the experiences of the past, freeing ourselves from the prisons of our minds, we can focus on moving forward. 10 is the number at the top of the card. That's the Wheel of Fortune of the Major Arcana, and it reminds us that what doesn't kill us makes us stronger, and we are strong enough when we clear those minds to take those swords out of our back, to forgive the past, to learn from it, and move forward, trusting ourselves and trusting our minds to make the next chapter what we want them to be. So those are the illustrations of the Rider-Waite-Smith, the most popular, I'd say, of the tarot decks out today, created back in 1909. If you're a tarot reader, you definitely have heard at least of the Rider-Waite-Smith tarot and the Weiser Tarot right there. But I've got a couple more illustrations to share with you because why not? Now, usually I share the Deviant Moon Tarot with these, but, you know, I do that every time. So I was trying to change it up this time. So I have the Allcento Tarot for you first. And I really, really like these illustrations because while this card, and this card all had that yellow, these cards, that is the main focus on these illustrations. So the hope and potential there are really, really there. Now, the 8 of Swords here, what I really like about this illustration, and it's very similar to the one right here, is the fact not only is that so far in the distance, it's in the shadows, here the swords are in front of her. But if you look behind her in that ocean of emotion, they are nowhere there. So maybe this shows, you know, finding that success and wealth, being fair to ourselves, involves walking backwards into the ocean of emotion, learning from the experience of the past so we can free ourselves from that prison of our minds. You know, the mind can be our greatest ally or the greatest enemy, depending on how we feel about ourselves and what we think when we look in the mirror. You know, if we're letting our minds overwhelm us, even if it's external voices that caused us this feeling, then we're going to feel trapped. But if we face those emotions, we face that negativity, we can move forward. We can find that love for ourselves that we deserve, and find that strength, and, you know, that embrace that inner lion and be fair to ourselves moving forward. Now, the illustration of the 9 of Swords, again, very, very similar to that of this illustration right there, only we can definitely tell feminine energy right here. But what's missing in this illustration, that's in this illustration, is that monkey. And, you know, I kind of hear this song in my head as I'm looking at it. I've got a monkey on my back. I've heard that a million times. You know, that those vices and addictions that, you know, just kind of hold us prisoner, kind of like the devil energy of the Major Arcana. But there it's like, hey, hey, he's poking the back of her head, like saying, you know, oh, hey, remember this. Remember that time you did this to this person? Remember this person did it to you? Remember all those bad things that happened in the past? They're going to happen again. You know, that's that worry, that fear, that anxiety keeping us awake at night. You look really, really closely at this illustration. Look here on the bed. That artwork right there built into the bed itself. There's the Five of Swords energy. At least that's how I see that. And you know, that change and transformation energy, change and transformative energy of the Five of Swords, the victor or the victim card, you know, that could be the reason she's laying there worrying about what the future might hold. And you've got all the Zodiac signs here too on her blanket. I wonder... No, not exactly. It's a different kind of thing there with the background right there on the blanket there, or not really the background, but the blanket there, not the Zodiac signs. But here we have the Zodiac signs. And what I find really, really, well, there's Zodiac signs and then there's astrological planet signs there too. So it's all the experiences, everything we've been through, all that we've learned that can help us move forward when it's not keeping us awake at night worrying. Now the arrow right here, that gives me Sagittarius energy. Like I see that, you know, that's the symbol for Sagittarius. So whether it is or not, I feel like that connects and it gives us the positivity of this card because it's, you know, remain optimistic. Don't be afraid to shoot for the stars. Sagittarius loves learning. So, you know, learn from those experiences of the past so we can free our minds from the prison of doubt, free our minds from the anxiety and move forward, being fair to ourselves and seeing ourselves as the victor of our story. So that monkey on her back, the monkey poking her in the head, you know, hey, remember this, remember that. Oh, you went so wrong on this. Yeah. You know, that voice that just tells us after we have a conversation and stuff and we're lying in bed at night worrying, you know, that the conversation, we could have said things differently and stuff like that. That's very much the energy of this card, but it still reminds us, especially that part right here on the bottom of the card on the bed shows, you know, changing that mindset, learning from those experiences so we can begin the next chapter of our stories with confidence. That leads us to the Ten of Swords right here. The yellow continues, reminding us that our futures are what we create, and we have that strong confidence when we free ourselves from our prisons of our minds and learn from those experiences of the past. We can find happiness and joy moving forward. See, this one is so much more prominent, more detailed than that Rider-Waite-Smith, because that sun on the horizon screams new potential, new day. And all of those things in the past, you've even got that circle right there, and his hands, if you look closely, there's those two fingers sticking up, you know, I'm moving. I'm not letting this hold me back anymore. And the ocean of emotion right there, you can see the other side. It's not even that deep. So when we let go of the past, when we see the new opportunities awaiting us, we forgive the past and stop letting it bring us down, we can have those clear minds to create something better than we ever had before. The Allcento Tarot, this deck right here, is one of the coolest decks I have ever seen. But I will say I'm slightly terrified of it because there is so much to speak about, so much to see in these illustrations, and I just hit the tip of the iceberg when it came to talking about it. But those are the illustrations of the Allcento Tarot. And I have one more set of illustrations to show you, and then I will send you on your way. This is the United States of Tarot, and it is one of the coolest, most interesting decks I've ever seen. Now you can tell why this deck has a little bit of controversy to it, why you know, not a lot of people like it because they see it as very political. But like, take the Nine of Swords right there. That's not political, is it? It's worry, it's fear. You know, that tornado there, you've had tornadoes in the past, especially if you live in places like Kansas and stuff. Tornadoes just love flat land with no hills and stuff, right? Anywho, back to the Eight of Swords there. You know, he's got his arms tied in his back, and this guy is obviously somebody really important in politics and stuff, but I'm not sure who it is, so we're just going to talk about the character in the illustration. Standing there at the White House, all these swords in front of him, his arms are tied behind his back. He looks stressed. He looks worried. He feels like a prisoner. So that energy there very much connects to the Eight of Swords right here and the Eight of Swords right there. You know, finding that strength to forgive ourselves, finding that strength to be fair to ourselves and move forward can help us find the success and wealth that we deserve. He's so close to the edge right here of the bushes, the hedge. I think it's called a hedge. And I can imagine standing on the other side of what we can't see are all those reporters with their cameras and everything, like yelling at him, making him think that he's a prisoner. but he's not. You know, go back in there, face your past, learn from it so you can find the success that you deserve moving forward. The Nine of Swords, we've already talked a little bit about it, is right here in this illustration. The dog, the people, and everything, you know, this is like a Western energy, them standing on their house, worrying about that tornado that's coming. You know, worry, that's what's going to keep us awake at night, making us feel like the future is going to be much of the same. You know, when it comes to the Minor Arcana, the nines can go either way, even the tens can for that matter. Like the Nine of Wands, that's the card of looking over your shoulder, worrying about what the you know, when the next shoe's gonna fall. And it's, you know, those tornadoes of the past. The reason you feel like lying awake at night is all that fear and anxiety and things that, you know, the past kind of held. Now the Nine of Cups, quite the opposite energy. It's all of those experiences of the past, everything we've been through and all that we've learned can help us make our wishes come true in the here and now. And the Nine of Pentacles, same kind of energy there. Very, very positive. All the things that we've worked hard for can help us, you know, feel successful and buy ourselves whatever we want. But the Swords and the Wands 2 energy right there, you know, that passion within us, that inner fire, and the mind working against us can have us lying awake at night or worrying about the future. Or this illustration here, awake in the brightness of day, worrying about that tornado coming to hit us. So that energy there, you know, when we're prisoners to our minds, when we're letting that mind overwhelm us, then we don't have that confidence to succeed. When the sign of the twins feels confident, that's when we have that positivity and the ability to focus on where we want to go and what we want to be. The card over here, that's the Ten of Swords, and you got all those swords in the White House. That might even be the White House, I'm not sure. But you know, you've got this very important building right there and all these people outside. And again, while these are the suits of the mind, these are the suit of the minds, and Gemini is the mutable air sign, so it's the mutable sign of the mind. You know, if it's other people's opinions, other people's voices throughout our lives, even if they're not even in the picture anymore, it can have our minds working against us. But there's joy to be found. You see that sunshine and everything in the background. We forgive the past, we learn from it, we can spin the wheel and begin the next chapter with confidence. That is the energy of Gemini season, I feel. We have that confidence to free ourselves from that prison of our minds, to learn from the experience of the past and apply that wisdom to the next chapter instead of lying awake, letting anxiety fill us with doubt when we should be getting a good night's sleep. When we let go of the opinions and voices of the people of the past, we can begin being a fool again for what we want to achieve and what we want to do. So, you know, we're not narcissists. We're not just focused on ourselves. When it comes to the suit of the mind and all three of these cards, it's the worry and stuff that we're not good enough, but that's not true. You know, focus on trusting yourself, trusting your mind, freeing yourself from that prison of the mind and getting that good night's rest so you can begin that next chapter with confidence. Now, I did start this by saying a little bit about my old boss whose birthday was, I think it's like May 26th or May 27th. I don't remember exactly, but it definitely is that Eight of Swords energy right there, the prisoner of the mind. But those kind of people, those kind of people in our lives can, you know, be the reason that we feel like we aren't good enough. But when we take back that confidence, you know, we see ourselves where we want to be no matter where we are today, and we find that strength to see ourselves as that strong foundation, then we can find all that money that we deserve, find all that happiness and success that we deserve. But we have to see our own worth. And yes, this is a tarot card, the Emperor of Donald Trump himself, and that's the reason I wanted this deck so much. I love the illustrations here because they're so interesting and so true. Like Emperor's New Clothes kind of energy there. And you know, the Emperor's New Clothes, he was walking around the street naked, but it didn't matter because he thought his own worth. He saw his own worth. And Donald Trump and that old boss of mine might have many things in common. And the first thing they have in common is that confidence in themselves and their minds. My boss actually told me once that, it's not completely quoted because I don't remember the exact words, but he said once, it's better to beg for forgiveness than to ask for permission. That sounds a lot like, you know, the guy in this illustration too. But, you know, these people don't have that prison of doubt in their minds. These people don't lie awake necessarily. I mean, I don't lie awake with them, so I don't know exactly if it's true. But, you know, they're not letting their minds worry about the future, and they're certainly not lying there, you know, wanting to give up. They continue. We have to continue too. So Gemini season, the 8, 9, and 10 of Swords, you know, find that success. That is the number of the 8. Find that, you know, good night's rest and learn from the experience of the past. That is the 9. And the 10, Wheel of Fortune energy, believe good luck and fortune are on your side. Moving forward and learn from those experiences of the past, picking ourselves back up and following that sun of the new joy awaiting us. As always, if you want a reading with any of the cards that I, you know, shared in this video, feel free to comment on this video, message me on the socials, or book a reading directly on my website. All of that will be in the description below, as well as the list of all the cards that I used. If I have room, I will, because, you know, you only have so many characters, I will put the links to the, where you can purchase these decks for yourself, because why wouldn't you want to have them? I'm not sure if United States of Tarot is still available, but if it is, I will totally share that. As always, again, thank you for watching. I hope you enjoyed, and I'll see you again in the next one.